3. Thank you, Jesse. And I'll tell the computer that I got it. And we'll go ahead and start the meeting with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right.
Hello,
Okay.
just missed the pledge.
So, welcome everybody. If anybody has, wishes to address the board at privilege of the floor. If they're in Zoom, they should raise their Zoom hand, and if they're here, they should sign the sign-up sheet. We have no signatories here. I happen to be aware of that, and, I don't see any online. So I'll proceed to the meeting agenda and call for committee reports. And if anybody would like to offer anything.
Yeah, I'll just say that we had a meeting between the code officer and the chair of the review board to discuss procedure, so that we can clarify who does what, when, what communication lines are going on, so that seemed to go well. So I think that we made some progress.
Mhm.
As we, figure out how to work through all of this smoothly. We still need to have a meeting with Jesse.
Yeah, and I think she's a little bit aware of this
Right.
conversation. Yeah.
It'll take 10 minutes once we have it, just to decide what to do.
Yeah.
the planning board is moving on to work on the adult, the adult use law and the, mobile home law.
The planning board's working on what?
The adult, what is it?
The adult use law.
The adult, what's it called?
Establishments? or
Yeah,
whatever?
yeah, that law.
Oh, so we should have I think we should have a conversation about, that's their proposal.
And they're also working on the, mobile home law. As for their next projects, like 2 people are working on each.
Oh, and, yeah, it's called adult use, I think.
Yeah, that's what I said, right?
Yeah, I think you did, but yeah, we were surprised. So we were trying to absorb it. I mean, I'm speaking for others, but I was surprised,
Yeah,
because, yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. Bill gave us and I don't know if you've gotten it, Jonathan, so I should share that with you, or we should make sure he gets it, but Bill sent us a list of a pretty, like, 2-page list of possible next topics, so I think we need to have that conversation.
Before they get in the weeds.
Yeah,
so, and so the mobile home law, kind of goes into the subdivision law
it does.
a little bit. So they've just started working on it, and like I said, I'm sorry, I'm not very well prepared.
That's
I
okay.
can't remember which 2 people are working on it. I think it might be Barb and
Okay,
Will, and then Bill and it's Andrew Dover, right?
yeah.
Are gonna work on the Adam,
Yeah,
are gonna work on the other ones. So in other words, so like they're not all working on the same.
Okay.
things.
I had thought that they had asked us to look at a list of possibilities
And
To
so
get a
but they're ready to
sense-
move on.
to
So
get a sense
yeah.
of what our priorities would be.
well, maybe we're overdue to get back to
So we
them,
must be
but
right,
do.
if these are not things that you think they should work on, then I think, you need to give them that feedback.
right, us,
So,
I think that should be, I don't know, I didn't tee it up for tonight, but that would have been a great thing to do.
Yeah,
I guess maybe later, after we've got through the agenda, if we want to take a minute and if people have thoughts from their recollection of what,
maybe
Well, we
have
could talk about it
you
through
have
the-
that list handy that we could look at later.
you mean physically,
Well, even on your computer.
yeah.
I could See,
I could see if I could find
I'm
it.
sure I could find it on my email, so I could talk through it.
I can't remember if he.
So I can't get on my email right now, so I'm,
So let's see how the meeting goes.
Yeah.
I think we'll have space to do that, so I think we should do that.
Because I wouldn't want them to spin their wheels, you know. on-
Yeah,
Right.
well, I think
I
we're
think
over.
the mobile
yeah.
home law might be important just because it does kind of tie in with the subdivision law
Okay, well,
somewhat, but, anyway, yeah,
Yeah.
it's, this
okay,
this would be the time to give feedback, because for their next meeting,
Yeah.
which is August 28th, they'll be,
August 28th,
yeah, they'll be working on it, so.
okay. All right,
And the only other thing is the History Room Advisory Committee has had a meeting, and we invited someone from the Caroline History Association, and they're sending Dick White to be a representative from the Caroline History Association on the History Room Advisory Committee.
great.
great,
And our next meeting is August 15th.
15th,
Yes,
okay,
And you sent an email to me about that?
yes. Well, actually, Sarah Michelle sent you an email, and then I also copied it
Great.
to your town email.
I forgot what you called this group,
History Room Advisory Committee. RAC.
correct, yeah, okay. Great,
So I don't, this is a committee we formed. Do you know what it's about?
I just heard people mention it when we were talking about the farm festival and
Oh, yeah.
maybe the history folks being one of the tables. That's all I've heard about it.
I have not heard that,
okay,
so,
that's different,
okay.
that's
There
different.
there is a history, like Caroline History Association.
Oh,
They usually have a table at the farmer's market, so maybe they would probably do that again. So the committee is just, it's Kate and I are on it, and Barbara Cohen's the historian, and Jennifer Johnson's the deputy historian. And then Becky DeWitt is kind of a person, citizen at large. It's really to talk about their needs, and so that it's kind of a conduit between the town board and the needs of the history room, which is different from the History Association, which is kind of another issue.
And so now you've added a member from the History Association?
Yes.
Yeah, okay,
Because especially when, since Barbara spends half the year in North Carolina, and I guess we're sort of hoping that maybe we could keep some work going with volunteers
sure,
Be
during
great.
the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy, you
Yeah,
know, and so we want to kind of
yeah,
get them to shake hands and
Yeah.
work together, you know,
Yeah.
so.
yeah, I think they are.
yeah.
Oh, no,
so-
I think they're getting along, it's just. Yeah, they're kind of doing some of the same stuff, you know, so.
Mm.
Anyway, so I'm just slowly moving that along.
Great. Seems not so slow, because you had a meeting recently, and, yeah, that's great.
That's it for the committees.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, the Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council did not meet in July. But the Safe Streets for All is ongoing. We put out, an announcement about the interactive map. There are a lot of people that have gotten on and
Good,
given
good
their ideas.
responses,
Yep,
that's great.
so. Yes, and then, so that's toddling along.
Great. And I don't know if you want to mention, but I am very appreciative to Nancy Hall and Dan Klein and the
Yeah.
county highway. So do you want to just mention what happened there?
There's been a concern about, we've talked about this before, about the speeding through the hamlet, especially near the community center when the camp is going on, which is basically, it's basically a daycare, for the kids in the summer, and especially drop off and pickup times where the kids walk home and take bikes home. So Nancy was really, has been concerned about it. Cal was looking into trying to help with that situation. And then, so let's see, I called Dan Klein, we talked, yes, yesterday, it seems so long ago. And, he's gonna be talking to the county. I did call the county and leave a couple messages, but they're really busy right now.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're off your email, right?
I am off my email.
So Dan
because-
sent us an update today,
Ooh,
so I
tell me what
I
happened.
shouldn't have thrown it in your lap.
Yes.
So anyway, Dan said that I believe tomorrow, the county will be putting a, what do we call it, a safety truck there.
There's something there now.
Sign,
What's
you know,
that?
the flashing sign.
There's a sign there.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, great.
As we speak, there's one there. I went
Right.
by.
Yes, so they must have done it today.
That's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And he said,
Gosh, I-
please go ahead and put cones out and they
Okay.
can loan cones if needed. So,
Great, great. And he's gotten in touch with Nancy, I take it?
Pardon me?
Nancy Hall, has he
I
gotten in
think
touch
he
with-
copied everybody from
Great.
the original
That's
email.
great. Good,
Yeah.
good.
So-
I am gonna get in touch with the gravel pit. One thing Nancy was concerned about was uncovered trucks and stuff bouncing out of it.
Okay, so that's a different issue.
Well, no, it was in the same email.
Why, right.
So,
Same email.
So-
It's a different issue.
so my job was to get in touch with the gravel pit people and make sure they've got signage up. And a lot of the trucks coming out of the gravel pit are county trucks, and Dan is going to again, talk to the county about that, because
Okay.
they drop off a lot of fill there, the county highway department does.
Great.
So,
Wonderful.
great. You wanna talk
That's
about broadband at all?
really good news. I don't know if we have anything to update, really. We're meeting weekly. Is that what you were gonna mention?
Like,
The
you were at the meeting yesterday, I wasn't, because I didn't have the Zoom link, because I don't have
Right.
email. So,
Dryden,
yeah.
with the Dryden team, so.
Yeah.
Just,
We're gonna get all the poll permits out, Caroline, in August, right? They were starting that.
that's what he said.
Yeah.
It's great.
Which is great, yeah.
Yeah, full
Moving on.
permit application, I guess. We don't actually have the permits yet.
Great to have Hunt Engineering and Dryden team, you know.
Yep.
Really great, so. In that regard, we are, you know, like, so, I think an issue that is something that we're gonna have to start grappling with is how we organize this. And whether we form a local development corporation. So, that conversation has started. Dryden discussed that with, I believe their, the legal team and so then, I'm scheduling a meeting with Municipal Solutions, which is they're like a municipal advisor for bonding and things like that. So, and Amanda's gonna be a part of that conversation and, you know, maybe other part of members from the Dryden team, but we've got to meet soon. Jeff's out this week from hip surgery, but we'll do that soon. So that's a big deal. So,
And the development corporation is for working with putting in the infrastructure for the fiber optic system.
yeah, so
And because it's municipal, we're not a business or we're
Right.
not a developer.
right,
So you'd have to create some other entity to do that.
I don't know if you
Yeah.
have to, but it may be advisable, maybe the best way to do it. One thing we have to do is be sure that, you know, we have to divide our costs very carefully between the towns. So Dryden's the lead agency on this grant, so you know, we've got to sort of, you know, they're gonna be administering all the initial payments and reimbursements, and then we're gonna have to, I think that's the way it's gonna reimburse, but yeah, so I think this is leading to the discussion of whether it makes sense to sooner rather than later
Right,
do
and
this
whether,
local development corporation.
but that would be Dryden Fiber probably, right? I mean, there's.
Well, that I
that's an
don't
option.
know.
That's the
See,
thing
I don't
we aren't
know
sure
whether it
where
would
to go.
be one development corporation that would cover multiple towns. That would make sense to me.
Mhm.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah, so that's kind of what I think it would be. But I need to learn more.
There's a bunch of legal stuff that we
What's that?
said. There's a lot of legal things involved, like, But like, who owns the optic fiber? Remember we got talking about that, like the town will own it. Right,
That was the ownership,
right, the ownership is different than,
for the pole permits, I think is what,
right,
so, and that can be modified,
mhm,
depending on how we structure the program, so yeah.
Mhm.
So we gotta,
And liability all comes in here too, probably. That if a
Insurance.
corporation owns stuff that is better than the town owning it, if there's
Maybe.
a liability issue.
maybe, yeah,
Cause I'm thinking about that with my own farm.
is that right?
Just, I mean, it's a common thing, and creating the LLC to kind of separate yourself from liability a little
Yeah.
bit, buffer a little bit, so.
Yeah, so, good point.
Makes sense.
I can't wait to talk to Jeff, so. Hope he mends well. So, yeah, anything else? Anybody? And I just take this opportunity to mention, you see on the agenda tonight that, I'm gonna appoint Jonathan as liaison to the, ad committee. And the ad committee is having this event on Sunday from noon to 4 at the Brookdale Community Center. Where you can get some ice cream and other things, so, and there'll be local farmers there. Do you know what the turnout's gonna be?
I could report as the committee liaison if you want.
That'd be awesome.
That went to our last meeting.
That's okay, we'll officially make it.
Officially after,
Go
okay.
right ahead.
No, we met, it was good, we're very close to, everything being finalized, and essentially it's a 12 to 2 event, open to the public, focused on Caroline agriculture and farming and gardening. There's probably gonna be at least a dozen or more booths of various farm related entities. Just showing who they are. Some people might sell stuff, but it's more of just informational
Mhm.
booths. We'll have a free raffle, which I'm organizing for some of those farms. Free music, free ice cream. Oh, and then essentially it's like a ribbon cutting ceremony for, even though the plan's not finished, it's just a public kind of. Here it is, this is what we're working on,
Okay.
it's not official.
Are there gonna be copies there or something?
Well, the only thing I think there'll be probably one copy of the big final draft, but we do have like a twofold. That summarizes it and it's more publicly available, it's like good
Executive
to look at,
summary thing,
yeah. So that will be available to anybody, I think,
okay,
and then. The thing that's kind of exciting, it's interesting, Kellis is coming,
Mhm.
you're coming, Webb's coming. And so it'll be kind of a big to-do,
yeah,
to just say, hey, we've done this and we worked hard on this and
yeah,
these are our goals going forward. Some
great,
of our vision.
Yeah.
We'll see.
yeah, it'd be nice. So do you know, I missed the last ad committee meeting and I just, like, the ad committee was gonna have, this isn't the same, as they were gonna have a public information session about the ag plan.
This is different.
Yeah, so they're gonna do that pretty soon, you know?
Yeah, I think within the next couple of months, the goal is to have it, I think the goal is to have it done by the end of the year,
Okay,
but, I think we have until next year, but
I think you do, yeah,
I don't know if it needs to go that long, but
right,
we do have some buffer time.
yeah, because,
We have a meeting tomorrow.
The information that's been put out over social media is that it runs from 12 to 4.
Yeah, so the event is 12 to 4 because there's music. But the farmy part will be done at 2. Like farmers don't have to stay till 4. They could if things are going well and they want to stay.
mhm,
But we didn't want to make it too long for the farmers because they're busy.
Yeah.
But the public could be there listening to music, and I'm assuming the ice cream's probably gonna go in like the first 20 minutes. So people aren't gonna stay for ice cream past 2 o'clock for sure.
I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, no, thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
I think one thing that happened was, I'm pretty sure Emily had already organize music for that day. And so I think we just kind of merged them.
Co-opted it,
Yeah, we copied each other,
yeah,
because she probably wouldn't have gotten as many folks out, and we probably, the music helps get folks in to our event, so it
Yeah.
kind of, and so I think she planned to go to 4, but we wanted to end it at 2.
oh, okay.
I think the music's from 2 to 4, right?
Yes.
The contra dancing is from 2 to
Yeah.
4.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
very for dancing.
I think the flyer that I got, let's see. Yeah, it just says noon to 4, so it doesn't divide, oh, yeah, here, live music, oh, yeah, okay. Press event with the Caroline Ag Committee and elected officials at 1:30. And then, oh, yeah, dozens of local farmers with products and info, noon to 2 p.m. And then down at the bottom, live music and dancing with Diana Lee Quartet, 2 to 4 p.m. So that's, yeah. Good.
So if Anna and Leah come, does this mean that they're gonna give us extra money?
You guys got a grant for this too, right?
Oh, yeah,
We did, the state did pay for Monica's time and
That's right,
someone
yeah.
else, the other person.
Yeah.
But I
Someone
mean,
else's
I
time.
thought for this event, it sounded like there was a grant.
Just for, well, for I think some of the. Like flyer costs and things, but I think the music part that Emily's doing is another grant. It's not associated
That's
with,
right.
with our
that sounds right.
project, with our committee.
Okay,
Yeah, I think that's,
Two separate things.
community center grant.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But it's great that we're able to
Yeah,
maximize
absolutely,
efforts.
yeah,
yeah.
back scratching.
I wish I was gonna be here. I'm gonna be out of town.
Well, if it's successful, do it again next year.
Yeah.
So,
Next week.
next week, yeah, right.
No, I mean, because people, think about ways to, events, to bring the town together. It seems like a good way to do that.
Yeah. Thanks.
I should be able to make, I'll be a little late.
Cool.
Yeah. Be out at Camp Barton teaching citizenship in the community.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Great.
That's it, thank you.
Thanks, Jonathan, that's great. And then, so, I'll have to brush up, make sure, but I mean, I think the way it works is once the ag committee presents it and they dust it off, then we hold a public hearing on it and then adopt it, whatever, after that, or would be able to adopt it after that. Question, Tim?
No, I was just thinking about procedure, whether, seems to me that it would be good if the ag committee held. Because we didn't hold a public hearing just for a resolution, right? We hold a public hearing for a law. So it would maybe make sense if the ag committee didn't hold a public information session.
They're going
They're
to,
going to anyway, yeah,
yeah,
okay,
is that what you meant?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just
Well,
not
it's interesting
sure,
you're making that distinction. It's definitely not a law.
right?
It's
Yeah.
just a plan. So.
Right,
don't
but
know
I
how that
think
works.
it's like for the comprehensive plan, it's not a law, we had to hold a public
Yeah.
hearing,
Okay,
well, 2 actually, so,
I see what you're saying, yeah. Not just to avoid duplicating things, you know?
yeah. Yep. Great, thank you, that's,
So when do you think that the plan will be done then?
Yeah, that's still in conversation.
okay,
It probably could be done by the end of the year, but I think we have until,
yeah, it's not
Beginning
a
next
drop
year.
dead,
It's not gonna be this fall, probably,
it's probably.
or it might not be.
I think it depends on the committee. I mean, we're
It's not
pretty
gonna be
close to being done, but,
It's not gonna be September.
probably not.
Do you think it's pretty polished, like what you want to present?
Pretty close.
Yeah, okay,
Okay,
great, well, we'll stay tuned, I mean, I do remember, I think from what Monica said, I think even till like. I'm not for sure, but maybe next June, the grant still goes, but there's no reason to drag it out,
Right.
yeah, so. Okay.
put a lot of work into it, you know.
Oh
my gosh.
Pleasure.
I haven't been all that involved in the nitty gritty, but I've been in and out for what's been 2 years now or something,
Yeah,
Yeah,
so.
it's been a while, so. Okay, great. Any other committee reports? Sounds good. I guess I'll just let you all know the town newsletter went out yesterday, so that should be arriving in people's mailboxes, and I hope a lot of people get it before Sunday, because it has the flyer in it for the ag event. So, yeah. So with that, I will move on to introduction of the Caroline subdivision review local law that you guys know about. I put printed copies out for everybody, not that I expect you to read it right here. And I just wanted to make a few comments. So this is a law that administers, guides how land is subdivided in the future. And we're revising it because we want it to work well and towards the objectives of the zoning law. So where we're at with this is, so state law says that for lot line changes, towns can define those as subdivisions or not. So we elected to not define them as subdivisions. But we do require, so that means they don't require the State Environmental Quality Act review, seeker review. But they do require review to make sure that the boundary changes don't create nonconformities with the zoning law or other land use regulations of the town. The things that are properly subdivisions in what we have are minor subdivisions defined as land subdivision that results in 4 lots to 2 lots, and major subdivisions are those that result in 5 or more lots. So and the process for that, for each of those is slightly different. So for minor subdivisions, the process that we've outlined in the subdivision law is a 1-step review process. So basically the first plat, which is called a preliminary plat that is submitted, once that's approved, that's the final plat, that's what's approved. And another part of the process is that can come into play is the Tompkins County municipal law review, which takes 30 days. So for minor subdivisions, you can opt out of that. We've added that provision, and basically you have an agreement with the county that GML 239 review is not required for minor subdivisions, and they have a stock letter on the website. It's not an unusual thing, so we thought that made sense. For major subdivisions, remember that major subdivisions are rarer animals. And under the zoning law, those would be subject to conservation subdivision provisions. So yeah, and that's a two-step process because, and I think, like, I wondered why there was a two-step process, but for major subdivisions, you often have dedication of facilities like roads, public facilities. So that second step is to ensure that that's in place. So you have the preliminary plat and the final plat for major subdivisions. All of the subdivisions and the lot line adjustments, under this proposal are administered, reviewed by the town's review board. And we felt like that made sense, so that we had, I think for a number of reasons, so that we have a solid process for documentation of lot changes in the town, that they have the information they need that's required by our zoning law, especially in the ag rural district. And also for the review board, we felt like in general, there's long-term continuity. So membership certainly changes over time, but the body of the board tends to stay relatively, a lot of it stays in place for quite a while. Whereas in the code office, that's subject to, different code officers coming and going, so, which we've experienced, so. So yeah, I do want to.
So
Yeah.
the major subdivisions also can also require seeker, which is
Yeah.
another reason that it's a two-step process.
Yeah. So under this, both minor and major subdivisions would require seeker, so they both do. But for minor subdivisions, that can be a fairly pro forma process. I wanna, so the planning board, and I will say that Bill, the chair, sent us an email and advocated, with, I think, a lot of thought and, consulted with both Nan and Guy, to consider, I mean, they agreed with what we did with lot line adjustments, suggested for 2 lot splits where the result is 2 lots. Their proposal was that be reviewed by a 2-member team of the code officer and the review board chair or a representative from the review board. So, I guess, and I think, we've discussed this before, I just wanted to acknowledge, I think it was a valid effort to, simplify the process. But my reasons for not doing that are multiple. One is I think it makes sense to have the review board do this for all, just for continuity of the review process. As I mentioned, it's I guess under that proposal, they were proposing that we would, the state allows a town to define what the, minimum number of, created parcels is to define a subdivision. So he was proposing that we set that at 3, so that 2 lot splits are not properly subdivisions. And they wouldn't require review by a review board or a planning board. And so they wouldn't require seeker, it'd be a simple process. So, and as Bill pointed out, that's a very large proportion of the parcel subdivisions that we see in the town. So, yeah, so I feel like, I think that needs to be maintained as a type of subdivision for precisely that reason, because that's where the action is. We need to ensure that those splits are, done properly with our zoning law, so that development units are properly allocated and kept track of. So that each parcel split gets a proper review, and I think that proper review is really important. So I really advocate for, I think, Bill made a valiant effort, but I felt otherwise, so that's.
Well, I worked alongside you on this, and I agree, and I think we have to add both a proper and a public review. We most recently had a case that's before the review board right now, that's just a single lot.
Mhm.
And it resulted in public information being presented to the review board that wouldn't have been presented if just the code officer and or the chair of the review board did this in a side office and went through these things. So I think that there's a lot of reasons. I think we're learning that there are a lot of reasons to do this as publicly as possible. And we also, I think that we're all in agreement that with the code office and the review board, that can be done in a relatively streamlined process. And we were also heavily encouraged, if not told by our attorney,
Mhm.
Ann Mann, that this is really the way to go.
Yeah.
And that doing these multiple layer reviews just can cause all kinds of legal headaches.
Yeah.
That he wants us to avoid. So that, for me, sold the deal.
Yeah, I was gonna follow up with that, yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah. So the law is hereby introduced. And with that, I guess I will move on to the resolution. Is there any more conversation to be had about the introduced?
No, we have discussed this law before, just
Yeah.
for the audience to know.
Yeah.
We've been-
Yeah, I thought
We've
we
been
were
working on this for a
I
while.
thought we'd gone through all this stuff before, so.
Yeah.
We had, but you know, Jonathan's new to. the
Right,
board.
yeah.
I sat through last week when we talked about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and I, you know, I kind of surprised myself because I sent Guy the final draft and I said, oh, I better summarize it for him. So I summarized it for him and I was like, I said, I guess that's it. I don't know what we've been agonizing over. It was like 3 lines, you know.
Oh, okay.
So great. So with that, I will offer the resolution that both starts the seeker process and sets the public hearing. So it's a resolution, declaration of lead agency and setting public hearing for adoption of the subdivision review law. And so, with that, just, I guess, I won't read through all the gobbledygook, but, the town board is the lead agency for this because the town board is the only authority that can adopt a local law. So it's very straightforward. So there are no, other agencies that have, leverage or input on the adoption, but there are interested agencies such as those that might be affected locally, neighboring counties or towns. So the interested agencies are determined to be the Town of Caroline Review Board, the Caroline Planning Board, the New York State Office of Parks and Recreation, Tompkins County Department of Health, Department of Transportation, New York State Department of Ag and Markets, Tompkins County Planning and Sustainability, and that's this requires what I mentioned earlier, the GML 239 review. So we'll submit this tomorrow for that process, which takes, allow 30 days for review. And then provide notice to Tioga County, the towns of Danby, Dryden, Candor, Richford, and Berkshire. And so further be it resolved, a public hearing is hereby set for August 21st, our next board member meeting day at 7 p.m. at the Caroline Town Hall and by Zoom to hear comments on the proposed subdivision review law. And people can submit written comments as well by 12 p.m. on that day. And we have to publish that in the town newspaper. So that's my abbreviated summary of the resolution. Do I have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Michelle. And any questions on this? No further questions. I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So that's unanimous. Great, so we'll have the public hearing at the beginning of the next meeting. All right, so the next resolution is the resolution authorizing readdressing on Deputron Hall Road So whereas properties on Deputron Hall Road in the towns of Caroline and Danby are numbered non-sequentially and without allowance for future subdivision of lots, and whereas this is a source of confusion for visitors and service providers and is especially serious for emergency responders. And whereas the solution is a comprehensive readdressing of residences on Deputron Hollow Road, which the towns of Danby and Caroline have developed based on address assignments for each 50 feet of road frontage. Therefore, be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board hereby approves the following address changes upon mutual approval by the Danby Town Board. And further, be it resolved, the Caroline Town Board requests the town clerk send a certified copy of this resolution to the town of Danby. And upon receipt of same from the town of Danby, authorizes the Caroline Code Enforcement Officer to submit address changes for the Caroline residences to Tompkins County. That's to the Tompkins County Department of Emergency Response 911, whatever. And there's the list of address changes. So a few more in Danby. And they're actually, yeah. So that's that. And do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Tim. And I will make a clarification as I grapple. I will tell you that we've been grappling with the process here. See, I don't know if I put it in the, I thought I did. Okay, maybe that's why. So it's, the resolution is fine as written. So municipalities have the responsibility of assigning addresses. Believe it or not. So, which I think is kind of weird, that each municipality has that responsibility, and this is to say that I think it should be more centralized. So these address changes become effective when the town board makes the change. So we are not quite doing it tonight because we're saying it's contingent upon the town of Danby passing the same resolution for these addresses, and they don't meet until the 19th. So that's when it will become official that the addresses changes happen. And we've let the Department of Emergency Response know that we want the address changes with them to become effective on October 1. So we did that thinking it would give people more time to change their addresses. That was the reason for that, but that's a different thing. So
And then the post office, do we notify the post office?
yeah, I talked to the post office today to let her know, and I gave her a copy of this. So, I got, the address change kits. And I mailed a letter to everybody, provided an address change kit, let them know this is coming. I've heard back from 4 residents, so.
Did you mail everybody or just Caroline?
Just Caroline,
Okay,
that's my job.
right.
So, and Joel mailed letters to Danby residents too.
So you heard from the majority of people back?
I've heard from, I think, yeah, I've heard from the majority, and the one I haven't heard from is LLC. So I'm in New Jersey, so I'm not gonna hear from them. So I've heard from everybody that actually is there.
Okay.
Yeah. Some disappointment, one just with questions, so I do want to follow up. But one resident was concerned about changing her address and whether the postman would recognize both addresses. And so I was reassuring her that, you know, like, I think the postman will, you know, there'll be some, they have to recognize both. But when I talked to the Brooktondale postmaster, she was like, oh no, we can't expect the mail carriers to do that. I'm like, so, I don't know, she said.
So it's covered by Brooktondale? It's Brooktondale?
It's all Brooktondale.
Okay.
It's all Brooktondale. So I gave her a photocopy of this, and I'll be following up again.
6 addresses.
That they go to every day.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So Anyway, this has been one, I mean, the first person that replied to me was a friend, whose parents, used to live right across the street from us, so, and I know him, but he was upset. But he did start by saying, you know, we've recognized this is a big problem for a while, and we've been dreading this day. So, they knew it was coming. So,
Couldn't they have gotten a post office box and all this time?
what's that?
I mean, couldn't somebody have gotten a post office box and avoided this whole situation?
Not for 9/11. Not
No,
for-
Yeah,
but for changing,
Not for 911.
I know, but for changing their address. The dreaded changing your address thing. I'm just saying, if somebody's worried.
No,
this is
well,
gonna
what
happen-
he was saying is
Couldn't you-
he recognized that the town was gonna have to do this
Right,
readdressing because it's not consistent, it's
Right.
not compliant with 911
Yeah.
guidelines. And it's a mess. It starts at 99 and then goes to 1. Or
Right.
no, it goes from 99 to 3.
So did the Brookendale Post not suggest that everyone should submit a change of address form? I mean,
Yeah,
would that just
yeah.
take care of the problem?
yeah,
That's what I told people to do.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, anyway, I'm sorry, I don't understand the problem. Anyway, so
yeah,
it's not worth it. It's not worth the discussion.
But I have a historical question.
yeah.
So you and the town, leader in Danby came together at some point and realized needed to change, and so you did it together.
Yeah,
So it's because most of them are from Danby,
Mhm.
and so
yeah,
it's not like we said, we're doing this, you need to do it. It's, you're both doing it because it's
Yeah.
necessary.
yeah,
And this started, just this background is my recollection is the tipping point, right, was the need to file a new address for somebody,
yeah, and there was none.
and there was none.
And what had happened was there were two identical addresses, one in Caroline, one in Danby. That's what the tipping point was. And it's like, okay, this is not gonna work. So yeah, it was totally collaborative. Yeah. So it's almost over, I hope. So did I take a vote on that yet or
No.
any further conversation or questions?
Well, I mean, the good news is if this happens anywhere else in town, now you have a template for
Yeah,
next time.
I'll know more about what
I mean, development,
Yeah,
we're moving to places like Caroline,
yeah.
it's gonna maybe happen again, just
And
saying.
I mean, the confusion, I mean, it's embarrassing talking about it, because now it doesn't seem confusing, but, you know, I mean, the town attorney said, very simply, the town board determines the addresses, so when you do that, that's the address. But then there was this, but when the code officer assigns an address, he submits it to the county, and it gets reviewed and approved. They sign off on it, and then he assigns the new address.
So it doesn't come before us.
Not before the board, no.
Interesting.
Huh,
Mm-mm.
those codes officer that assigns
Mhm.
an address like on Brooksondale Road. Right, it's the new property that may be built, that's, you know, that's being
That's the
planned
code officer.
is 524, yeah, okay.
Or all of them there, but code officers assigned, yeah, that's typically how it happens, so. So, yeah, but that's interesting when Guy says, you know, the town board determines, well, we're not really all the time, so. Yeah, that's,
It's like the code office needs to let the town board know that they've assigned these.
excuse me,
It seems like the code officer needs to
yeah,
let the town board know that they've assigned,
yeah,
that he has assigned. the
So
address.
to make it legal, perhaps the town board needs to approve the
Approve it,
assigned
yeah.
address, I don't know.
yeah,
Or have you given power in the law to the representative being
Yeah,
the
that might be
code
what it is.
officer?
Yeah,
I think that's correct,
We should look at the code,
I-
see if it's in there.
I think that's what's
Yeah.
implicit, yeah,
But it's hard when you have turnover.
yeah,
mhm.
If it's assuming the same code officer for years and years and years, it's more consistent, but if it's 3 code officers in 4
Yeah.
years, then things get more complicated.
yeah.
Mhm.
And even with the same code officer, you know, if they adopt this particular addressing plan, it might not be the best plan, and that's kind of what happened, like things got, it's like, wait, we're out of addresses.
Maybe there needs to be a standard plan.
I think there does, I
So
agree.
the town is, the responsible could just create a plan and then every code officer says, you have to read this plan before you make a.
Yeah,
Or the county should do them all.
yeah, I kind of think.
Yeah.
it should-
Or give us a plan,
Yeah,
at least,
And I'm-
the plan.
I am, so we've been in conversation with our great colleagues at DOER on this and at GIS. So I'm hoping this will be, there will be follow-up conversations, so I'm hoping this is a entryway into making some progress on this for a more centralized process.
Yeah.
That'd be great, so, did I call for a vote yet?
No,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you all. All right, unanimous on here. No else. All right, I'm gonna offer a couple of, sort of ministerial resolutions. One is the adjustment of the review board appointments, so moving Sue Pierce Kelling to the alternate and Jack O'Reilly to regular member. This was Sue's suggestion. She's traveling, she has grandbaby in Arizona, so she's traveling a lot. And Jack was very happy to step up, so thanks to both of them. And Sue and I have been trying to figure out how long she's been on the review board. She's been on there as long as I've been on, sort of like at least 2012. So she's been on there for a long time. She said she thought she got on during the fracking hubbub, and so
Usually
that's
for that
about
while.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that's at least 14
A
years.
long
So,
time.
yeah, and she's done excellent work, so I really appreciate her efforts and her work on the review board. So with that, did I get a second for the resolution?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Michelle. And if there are no further questions or comments, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Great, thanks. And my final resolution is to appoint Jonathan Bates as liaison to the town's agriculture committee. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Tim. You can't vote. And so, all in favor?
I,
Opposed? So that's, so Jonathan abstained on that, I guess, is what you'd say. So, thank you. So thanks, Jonathan. That's great. The minutes of July 17th, have people had a chance to review those? All good with that?
I think I made a comment, and I don't know if she
Yeah.
responded. I think
Okay.
she had me on the Zoom.
that's right.
Did she fix it? You think?
I don't know, I didn't hear
Okay.
anything back.
You sent it in, I'm sure she did.
Okay, yeah. I can double check, but yeah, that's fine. Okay,
I mean, it's a small thing.
yeah. I think there were a couple of small
There were a
points.
couple of other things that came in,
Yeah.
I remember.
So with that, the July 17th, the minutes are approved, and then, I'll go ahead and solicit agenda items for the next meeting. Obviously, we'll start with the planning board meeting, or the public hearing on the subdivision law. Oh, do we want to have a discussion about the budget?
It's time, right?
Maybe that would be good, right? So budget discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did send out, I think I sent you guys the completed June trial balance, so that's the halfway point in the year, so that's something you can look at if you want. So budget discussion.
All right, Mark, have you sent out requests yet? Budget requests?
I haven't, that's on my mind, so I'll do that tomorrow or the next day. I'll do it by the end of the week for sure, so,
Okay.
yeah.
Did you want to discuss, planning board priorities?
Yeah, I did. I thought I'd do that right next.
Okay.
The one thing I wanna mention is so. Mike Brown has been. We had this discussion, we have this $10,000 potentially from NYSERDA. And we're trying to think of like how we wanna propose the money to be spent. One idea that's come up is to spend it on an electric mower.
$10,000.
Yeah, how much do they
How
cost?
much is an electric mower?
$10,000.
Well, so
They're
there's,
very expensive.
Are there?
yeah, so there's
Is it
one
so-
called Greenworks that's 30,000.
30,000?
Yeah,
It's a commercial grade.
it's commercial grade. I think Robin Redcliffe has one on Gulf Creek Road and they're really good.
Okay.
I think we need a commercial grade for this, so
For the cemeteries?
huh,
For the cemeteries and.
for the cemeteries and everything.
That would also come with the trailer, or is the trailer separate?
Not me. I mean, we'd have to do more legwork. That's a lot of money.
It'd be heavy too. I'm just thinking.
Probably.
Battery. So, moving it, I was just thinking about trailering it places.
Well, that's a good point. Where's the mowers now being kept?
Right now, we don't have mowers for the lawn. We just contract with
Okay.
Chance Tibbles. And he has his own,
Cause
and
the battery charging area is a factor.
yeah,
Okay.
I don't know how it would work
It's a
with
special-
the level 2. We might need some special thing, or, you know.
They
anything.
typically have their own removable batteries.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I don't
Plug
know.
into a wall or
Yeah,
something?
well, you remove them and they have their own separate charger and you plug them in
Yeah.
into a wall or.
Yeah,
Huh.
But you have a good point. If it's a bigger unit, is it built in and do you just plug the whole thing like a car? I don't know.
yeah.
Can I ask a question? Sorry. Who's gonna operate it?
Well, I was just gonna say.
Mark.
Reasonable question.
I was just gonna say, I think that's. The question that would have to be answered, and I think it's too complicated. I don't know. Yeah, I think right now it's really simple with contracting with someone to do it, so.
I mean, how much do we spend a year on contracting out?
It's a good question.
Yeah, it's not that much,
I mean,
$3,000 or something.
so it would take, what, 10 years to make that back?
Yeah, I don't,
By that time,
like a good
that thing would be broken.
Yeah,
Yeah, well,
I don't.
it's interesting. It's less mechanical, so it doesn't break as often as a
Right.
gas mower.
I have heard that they're great. I mean, I have heard that.
I have an electric weed whacker and it's awesome.
I think I have a Greenworks one. That's, yeah. But that's a pretty big investment,
yeah.
and if we don't have somebody to run it, I mean, that's the other.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a process, we were developing this idea with Richard Brooks when he was our mower and stuff, but it's not that way now, and I think Jesse's point,
Well, I mean, I think given what happened with Richard, I mean, anytime that you would have somebody contracted to do this kind of thing, they could stop,
yeah,
or
true.
they could get hurt, or
Mhm,
hurt their knee, not be able to do it.
Mhm.
I mean, there were all kinds of those problems towards the end with Richard, who was a very dependable
Right,
person, and I don't know, I guess my
Yeah.
gut feeling is just to stay with jobbing it out to a local guy.
yeah, I agree. I think even though it's a laudable and attractive thing, I don't know, I think we're not in a good place to do it right now. That's how I feel.
Mhm.
You have
I
to
think
house
it-
it,
Yeah, sorry, I was just gonna say it'd be different if our highway department or somebody did it, the mowing for the town, but they don't, so. Why
Right.
purchase something that for someone to use that we don't necessarily have?
I think that's exactly right, and I think that's the way it would have to work. I think that would be the solution.
I thought we had talked about putting that money towards the town hall somehow, or the, the town barns.
Generators, sorry.
Oh,
What?
sorry,
I couldn't hear what Jesse said.
I didn't hear what you said either.
What'd you say?
Generators for the town hall and the highway department.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know. That's something I can ask Mike about. I don't know if generators
I don't know if generator,
would qualify for this money.
Qualify.
Yeah.
That's,
we
we talked about,
might if it was a high efficiency generator. I
I
don't
don't
know.
know, but
Only I think if you're replacing one, I don't think they'll buy you a new.
Exactly.
Okay.
I thought we were talking about upgrading the heat pumps or,
Yeah, right.
those were ideas.
yeah,
Mhm.
but not, I don't think the generators, I don't recall discussing the generators at all. I understand it,
We were thinking about generators recently
Yeah,
with the
it's-
power outages,
right.
but that, no,
but we
yeah,
weren't talking about it in relation to
Right.
$6,000.
right.
It brings up a good point that Jesse brought up. That if you're making plans for the highway department to have a new building, new infrastructure. That this is the time to put in a space to house a lawnmower.
Hmm,
And think about hiring someone
yeah,
to do the mowing and put in an electrical system to charge it
yeah,
in the plan, just
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
up forwarding those ideas into this new plan that's not done yet. You know, it's
Right.
like you can wrap it in,
and we can still do that.
yeah.
and it doesn't
That's
seem
great-
like that would be a big
A great point.
When does the $10,000 have to be committed?
October. I
October
think.
3rd. I think we just have to have a plan.
Yeah, just don't
Okay.
be spent.
We have time.
Okay,
So I brought it up because I talked to Mike and he said, well, if the mower, maybe we could have, if the mower thing has traction, maybe we could present a resolution at the second August meeting, but I think we have enough concerns about that.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about it and I think, yeah, so,
I mean, I also think that the highway facilities is so currently under such strain for storage that
yeah,
what's happened is this has been a 2-year process and we got engineering reports and the first proposal for a major new highway building that would have had tons of space. And it was way, way too expensive for us. So we're back to the drawing board to pretty much redo what we have, add a little bit on. And then the highway department has expanded one of its outbuildings. But it's gonna have to tear down its main cold storage building, which is a hut. Because it's World War II, blah, 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 it's dead. So as I understand, our current situation is that there's gonna be very little room to add new unanticipated equipment.
yeah, I don't know.
Given what we're working with, that's all.
Yeah, no, yeah, maybe. I think. I think it could be incorporated into the new.
But then we still have the problem of staffing.
Mhm.
So what are the other options for this? Do we know? Is it clear?
So the other options that we talked about are heat pumps. Heat pumps for this building. For the court offices and the historians that would, provide them a way to. For instant heating or cooling, if they needed it. Or for the office space at the highway markets,
The new office space.
for the new office space, but I, and I don't know, like for a mini split or whatever. I would think you could probably put one in to the existing, and then, when you rebuild, pull it out.
Pull it out.
Mm,
No, not really,
it's tough,
is it?
because of the coolant is complex and. A lot of times, once you install something like that, I found in my personal situation, they don't like to redo an old unit. They don't like to
Plumb it all.
replumb the coolant again. Like it's hard to find a contractor that they like to do it new and be done.
Yeah.
They don't like to redo it.
Hmm.
Or do someone else's.
Mhm.
Like if someone does it and then you hire someone else, they wanna do someone else's work.
Right, right.
Yeah,
And so that's a tough.
Well, can it just go into just installation? Could it go
Maybe,
into?
yeah.
You know, new doors, I mean.
So, I mean, I guess I think we're not gonna figure it out tonight.
Okay.
I think this is enough feedback that I can take back to Mike and say, you know, we kind of need to rethink it and let's
Okay.
see what he says.
I have one question, I don't know what the fuzzy parameters are, like lawnmower is to me, it's an electric lawnmower, is a fuzzy parameter for energy
Yeah.
in this regard. Do they consider durability in relationship to energy efficiency? The reason I'm asking, is there anything in the building that is a durability question where there's rot or upgrades around water damage, or, because you could make the case that the insulation or energy effects that are already there, like a windowsill is rotting or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
You could make the case that a $10,000 adjustment to some factor that's affecting energy efficiency could be paid
Mhm.
for.
I think that probably, my guess is that would work. If you could, you know, put your finger on it or whatever, I mean,
But you haven't heard of any complaints or concerns about the building having a durability? When I say durability, it means like the ability of the structure to continue functioning as it should.
well, that's the major impetus behind our renovation.
Well, that's why I'm asking,
Yeah.
because if there's any relationship to the durability of the building that is also adjacent to energy efficiency, you could make the case. And when I was doing building science, it was comfort was considered in
Yeah.
energy efficiency issues. Durability was also considered. There's all these other things that are directly connected to how a building functions in an energy way.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, could ask Mike, I mean, I guess. Where I get tripped up, I mean, maybe we could just fold it in, so I think like. The improvements to this building are gonna be massive, in my opinion. And so this 10,000 is gonna like, you're gonna strain to see where it is. So I think what we're trying to do is come up with something. Tangible and discrete that works towards these ends, so that's where. Like, I think the estimate was 10,000 for a mini split is probably, that's probably about
just one,
where it might,
really.
you know, so.
So for like, that would work for like the court. The court, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could have, it could have two heads, right? One could be up there and one down here. So,
Yeah, something like that might be.
but I don't know, you know,
But that might not even pay for installation.
yeah,
That might be just paying for the equipment.
yeah.
might. I know Milton, he put one in his living room by himself.
Yeah, it's cheaper if you do it that way, but
He
then
bought it
it's
by
like,
1,500
Yeah.
bucks, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I feel, I mean, I had mini splits put in, I thought it was like 9,000 or something.
Yeah, so that's about right, with the. that's
Got one
the
upstairs,
total
one
cost.
downstairs,
how many years ago
just like two,
though? Okay.
so,
Close,
Greg Yetzko did it.
oh, cool,
So,
For installation and equipment.
yeah,
Is that a Mitsubishi?
yeah,
Okay, yeah,
wow,
that's what, so, I mean, you could just get an estimate from him,
mhm.
there you go.
That's kind of appealing.
yeah. Simple,
And you have people that need them, they're not complaining, but they're considering their comfort.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
yeah. And they're great, I mean, that's great.
you're not worried about spaghetti and the historical look of the building, spaghetti?
Yeah,
We haven't even started talking about spaghetti yet.
well, we did
Spaghetti.
talk about this place not looking like a porcupine,
Right.
right? So
Say that again?
we did talk about not wanting it to look like a porcupine with
Yeah,
it sticking
right.
out all over
Yeah.
the place. So
But-
that is a concern of ours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's one, I mean,
but if it's just this one, if it's just one,
if it's just one, if it can be ground mounted in the back. I could be okay with that, it'd be pretty
I
inconspicuous.
think that, yeah, I mean,
I think the length of the tubing is a factor, it might be too long, cause it gets the efficiency and effectiveness is changed by how long the length of those
I
tubes
can
are.
see that.
I
Do you
think we
think
need
it'd
a,
be too
a
long?
list of
Might
ideas
be, yeah.
that the $10,000 could be put towards, kind of like, this is, I don't know what, I don't have a good feeling about what the parameters are that we're allowed to use it, you know, can we put it towards a larger project? I mean, or does it have to be its own discrete $10,000, is there matching? I don't know any of the
I
parameters.
wonder if Mike would be free to come to the next meeting. Just chat with us about it.
He doesn't have anything to do. Yes.
Because, this is just all in Seven
Yeah,
Direct.
it might be worth. just-
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk, I mean, we have a lot of fodder here,
Right.
I can talk with him and,
Mhm.
I'll email you too,
Mhm.
maybe we can.
I mean, weren't we also talking about upgrading the boiler or something?
That was, you mean, getting a high efficiency boiler?
Yeah,
Maybe somebody mentioned that,
I thought last time we talked about
It
that.
came up.
We were talking about changing out the radiators, right?
Yeah.
It came up.
yeah, it came up, and then I think Jonathan was saying. That if we get a high efficiency boiler, we probably have to change the radiator.
Radiators,
But
right.
that's not, I don't think that's a problem, is that?
No,
So-
because I guess your question goes, can you put the $10,000 into a $30,000 boiler?
Yeah, I think you probably can, but
Well,
Probably.
that's, to me, I haven't seen the boiler yet, but I'm assuming it's old.
it's old, it's
It's-
about 90 years.
Okay, so it's probably 60 or 70% efficient. If you got a 90% efficient boiler, that's gonna save you a lot of
Mhm.
pocket change.
And I mean, I just don't think these radiators are, it's not like it. I mean,
Yeah, I'm
they're not
not,
worth
I'm not
saving,
attached to the radiators, no,
so.
I'm just, I will
They
confess,
didn't put these radiators here in the 19th century. Those aren't that old.
In the
I
19th century, they probably put them in the 20th century, didn't they? Oh, you're joking, okay,
just would really like it, if it's feasible.
yeah.
To get rid of a boiler down there.
Mm.
It's damp. Dave Cole has to service it every year and like a bunch of the tubes are rusted out in like 1 year. And it's, I don't know.
Also not putting a new efficient boiler down there because it doesn't help in the long-term durability issues.
Yeah, it's a durability issue and I just like. The simplicity of having, just a more simplified heating system. That, so we don't have to have that, but maybe that's unrealistic, I don't know.
No, I can see that, I mean, I'm throwing things out there. Have we talked about using it towards insulation or not, the $10,000?
I think we have, and, I think
Like had that,
if we do, that was interesting, so at the EIC meeting. What Steve Nicholson told me was. Cause I had a memory that Tompkins Community Action, I saw the truck here, I thought, and. That had insulated this building. He said they did the attic insulation only and they didn't do the sides, cause they didn't wanna drill plug holes. The town didn't wanna have plug holes.
Mm.
So that answers the question, which is consistent, what Steve Gibeon reported is like, when he looked between. Peeled up clapboard, there was nothing under there.
Mhm.
So I think what happened, there's a good foot of blown cellulose in the ceiling, it's a foot thick. So I think we have good ceiling insulation, but I suspect the walls are empty.
so Barbara Cohn reported, she was sure that they drilled, but she could just be wrong,
She was sure they drilled,
yeah,
oh my god, so I should look at that folder you gave me.
I don't think it's in that folder.
Oh, okay.
That was just a
Well,
conversation,
my house had the holes drilled, but we had the little plastic plugs taken out and refilled with wooden plugs and painted, and you can't really see them anymore.
no,
Sure, I get it, but just saying what Steve told
but
me.
she said that they drilled and
It's a
everything.
mystery.
And I said, well, they said there's no insulation, and she said, it just settled. So, but she might be, her memory might be incorrect, she might have thought they were drilling and they weren't, and I mean, people misunderstand.
They can see with like a heat sensor thing, right?
Yeah,
where the
and we have done
insulation is
that,
sensor.
and I do have a recollection that
Okay, because
there were holes at the top.
Okay.
the
Yeah.
Upper part, so I think that.
Well, that means settling.
I
Yeah,
mean, so yeah.
So they did
so
drill.
I'm suspicious. but-
Well, if it was in the last before the last 15 years. Cause
Probably.
the technology of putting insulation in the walls changed
Yeah.
in like the late nineties, early 2000s. Before then, they would blow it in and it's called dense pack and it wouldn't measure the pressure at which it was being put in, and so that's why it was settling for a long time. And then some science was put into this and they found out that if you put it under a certain pressure,
You fill it
you
up.
fill it up and it doesn't settle.
I see,
Yeah.
but I think what that means is that somebody is incorrect about whether they drilled holes. So it's possible that Steve Nicholson is incorrect.
Yeah.
then, when he said they didn't drill holes.
If you saw an image where there was a gap, an infrared image, where there was a gap at the top, that's consistent with settled insulation.
Right, right.
They can also take off, a piece of the siding and just blow it in.
Cause Barbara said they drilled
think so?
holes.
That
so-
they can do that
They can
too.
do,
They
yeah.
can, yeah.
But I can also, if there's a closet on an exterior wall, you drill a pilot hole with a
Oh,
drill
great.
and you look in.
You can see the whole thing.
You can
Yeah.
see that, well, you can see if
Stop.
at head height, if there's cellulose, it'll be on the drill when you pull it out.
Oh,
And it doesn't matter, a hole in the closet doesn't really
right,
matter.
right.
But I'm still going back to, somebody's incorrect about how much.
Well, yeah, we're getting two different stories, so.
Yes,
We
so,
think that though there would be, I don't know how easy this would be to dig up, but there would be accounting records.
or like a,
What was
project or
contracted
something,
for.
I mean,
Yeah,
Scope of work.
scope of work, exactly, when I do work, I say what I do.
yeah, I mean, it should be in the town hall box.
Yeah,
for
like,
stuff
like
like that.
what, the contractor should have said what he did,
Absolutely. It's probably rattling around somewhere,
okay,
so.
only it was on
And
laser.
did Mike mention at all about the air sealing stuff? In your meeting
In
on Saturday,
about.
as an
possibly-
option for this 10,000? I was in conversation with him, we lost touch, and
Okay,
then he went to the meeting, I didn't get there,
yeah,
and we were gonna talk about it
he
more.
said he talked to you, yeah, let's follow up with Mike.
Cause then one of the things I just remembering now, one of the things he suggested that I was thinking about is. I contacted I was about to contact the companies that gave those reports.
Oh, right,
And then he said, no, let's wait, because they have very little bandwidth and you only wanna contact them once or twice.
yeah, they're only gonna do it once more.
Yeah, so he suggested, well, they said they're willing to do like one more report. Like they're not done, they're willing to do another report, and Mike was saying that maybe asking them to do an infiltration report, which is the air sealing report, which they didn't do.
Hmm.
Would give us data, because they're showing like best bang for your buck essentially in there. And to me, if they have that information, they could tell us that, a lot of these things are like 30-year return or whatever, that if you did air sealing for $10,000, that could be the biggest bang for your buck, and I'm curious for why they didn't offer that did they think it was too little of an impact, even though it was the best bang for your buck? I don't know why they didn't.
M&E Group or whatever.
Yeah, the company, other company from downtown also didn't put it in there either.
Yeah.
They have it, if you look at well, not here, at the report, there's an infiltration number. So usually you do that with a blower door,
Hmm, but they didn't.
but they didn't, so when they just inserted a number.
Hmm,
And there's lots of reasons why maybe it's too leaky of a building, and so they wouldn't have got a number anyway. There was asbestos in here, so they didn't wanna mess around with. The dust being blown around,
mhm.
we didn't pay them enough. And there's all these reasons why they didn't. Elucidate that part of the report, but Mike is saying that we could ask them to give us that number. And then. If it's a good bang for your buck and it's only $10,000, to me, it's a no brainer.
Right.
Yeah,
You take one day to come and air seal the basement and the attic and you're done.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay,
that makes sense to me.
But we don't have, there's no data, we don't have the numbers,
yeah,
so we can't do apples to apple list.
Mhm.
okay,
But that should be on the list still, I think.
okay,
It makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
yeah, so let's talk to Mike about that. That'd be great, yeah. Great,
Okay,
thank you, yeah. I was conflating air sealing with, like taking all the siding off and redoing the whole thing, so.
Well, there's insulation, there's air sealing, they're
Yeah.
comparable and connected, but they're two separate things.
Mhm,
Cause insulation does not air seal typically.
right,
Air sealing is like a foam you would spray in a hole or a gap or.
I mean, I think it really makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and you can buy the same material, the foam, and do a wall with just foam. You can foam a wall and it becomes your insulation, but it's not necessarily an air sealing barrier, although it acts like that. And then you see basements, people do basements now,
the
the
whole,
whole basement wall or old stone walls in the basement, it's the same.
I was told not to do that on the stone.
Yeah, it depends.
We
I
just-
think in your case where you are, water is a factor.
yeah,
In some of those stone basements, they're dry as bone all the time and it's not as big of a deal.
We just sealed the.
Right, just the sill
They did
is
that to my
sufficient.
house up in New Hampshire
Hmm.
as well.
okay. Good, okay, very good,
So you're gonna ask him to come in for the next meeting, or
sure,
how are we gonna?
but I'm gonna talk to him before then.
Okay,
So-
I'm just wondering how we're gonna follow up on this
Yeah,
idea.
we're gonna follow up
Okay,
tomorrow, and, cause he wants to know what's going on.
Yeah. okay.
So, yep. And, great,
Alright.
so do you guys wanna, want me to pull up Bill's email?
Yeah, if you can find it, I'm just having trouble.
You couldn't find it.
It was a while ago, I mean, a month or so.
Miss Cal's chocolates.
No.
I missed some too. Where is he? Where is the time?
We're gonna have to start buying them. Basically.
Well, I replaced him, so maybe I just have to start bringing chocolates.
I
That's
told
true.
I was drinking chocolates. not
you did.
that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Gotta get on that.
Forgot. Okay.
Yeah,
I gotta find out if he sent it as Dopadoka or planning board. Oh, here it is, right
you
here,
found it?
menu of possibilities, I got it,
Who's it from?
planning board.
Was there a date, Mark?
May 2024,
Hmm,
got on the header. So, he's got, oh, I know what it isn't, oh, it's on the screen for you guys, I'm not sharing it with the public, but I could do that. Anyway, revise any other land use laws that need it, that need to be updated. I don't believe any of these are urgent, so proposed planning board work on them along with some of the items from list 2. Oh, here's why they're working on that. So zoning commission flagged the following laws as needing updating to be consistent. The mobile home park law, adult use law, and road classification 98 law.
Okay, so they're starting on with the first two.
Weren't we just talking about something else that would be good for them to, or that we were going to need to revise? Mark, what was that? We were in a meeting just the other day.
Well, here are other ones that Bill listed under number 2 that I think I should state. Look at the flood protection law. To see if we want to revise that.
Well, I think that's what we were talking about. Actually.
That's one that I think we might want to. Look at the recently passed battery energy storage system. Oh my God. I thought we'd already done that.
We
so-
just did. Well, we were going to
Oh, I
review
know,
it if, as information came out, we were going to review it.
Yeah.
So,
on the safety issue.
right,
With the-
and what, because the
with
state was
fire.
issuing
Yeah.
guidelines. and
Let's
things.
wait for more information. Solar,
So review the solar energy facility siting law. And consider possible revisions to A, further protect water quality. based on info recently passed on by Tompkins County. Further encourage photo agrivoltaics and possibly cap maximum lot size of solar energy facilities. So I want to make sure everybody noticed that,
Friday.
yeah, on Friday, Distributed Sun is giving a public presentation here at 7 o'clock. I will record it on Zoom, but I think they're gonna be doing in-person stuff, so it might just be kind of audio. I did mention it, I had a meeting today with the Darby County Planning and Rebecca Minnis from Barton and Lewitas. So she had met previously with Bill and myself
Okay.
about that issue, the stormwater protection.
Okay. Oh, right, okay.
Solar siting. So she said today, I mentioned that this is coming. So she said she would send me their model law for the reviewer board to be aware of when they're reviewing this project. It might be helpful. But I'm not aware of what. I'm not aware of what the deficiencies are in our
law.
law, because the Bill and Will and the planning board spent a lot of time on that. It's very recent after the NYSERDA models, so, but
Wait, you talking about the battery law? Or the-
solar,
Oh, the solar siding, okay.
yeah, solar.
Is it on ag land?
Yes,
Is there any conversation about it being agrivoltaics potentially, or no?
I mentioned it to them.
Okay.
And
They tend to
they,
be hesitant, cause it adds cost,
it does,
but. Maybe I should go as
That would
the
be-
ag committee.
it would be awesome if you'd attend on Friday.
Whose farm is it?
It's Tony Tavelli and some of his neighbors.
Hmm.
This came, there was they applied for a waiver to our land use moratorium, more than 3 years ago. But then nothing came of it. They just stopped. So Tim and I met with them recently upon their request. And they explained that the federal government changed one of the tax incentives that made it more viable.
Hmm,
So that's why.
Biden stuff.
Yeah, it was something about, was it I thought it was related to the infrastructure required to hook up to the substations.
Something like that, yeah.
That they could get tax benefits from that, from the expenditures on that, so. Anyway, yeah,
How many acres is it?
200,
Small.
I think 200.
it's a lot.
200?
And some trees are gonna be cut, I'm assuming?
That's a
I
lot.
don't think a lot
Oh,
of
it's
trees
long.
That's a lot. I
Totally-
wasn't thinking
totally
that
didn't-
big.
wanna cut trees, so, but anyway. Yeah,
I'm looking at our.
Friday.
Now.
Tomorrow, this Friday or the
This
next?
Friday.
Friday.
this Friday, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so.
Yeah, I thought it was last Friday. Anyway, I can't
Yeah,
listen to it.
it's this next one, yeah,
Unfortunately, I'm gonna be out of town.
I will definitely be here running the
Site
Zoom.
plan applications for solar energy systems. There's gotta be site plan application and.
Oh, this is just a public
This
information.
is just the
session.
Yeah, this is just
informational, yeah,
Informational, okay.
but there's a
Nothing's
thing in our
been
law that says they
Nothing's
have to
been
do a
submitted.
public presentation before they submit their application, so that's why they're pushing
That's
it.
why they scheduled it at 7 o'clock on a Friday evening
Yeah.
at the end of the summer,
Yeah, when everyone's on
when everybody's on
vacation.
vacation.
Road use law. We've worked on that before, it's on the table, but. And the most, real protections from logging activity was. Consider establishing critical environmental areas, create a wind energy siting law. Look at cell tower siting to create a comprehensive, maximum coverage while minimizing number of towers. Programs, policies, incentives to preserve open space. Discuss work with the ag committee, whatever they are coming up with for preserving farming. Recreational park. Improve public water access. swimming, boating and fishing. Those are that's his.
Is Bitcoin mining on there?
Bitcoin,
I heard a terrible
Yeah.
NPR story today.
a bad story.
Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible. Texas town, rural. They set up a bit mine.
Did they have a lot of water there or something?
No, I don't know what I didn't hear the details of the thing. The problem is that all these people in the town are getting sick. Because the decibels
Yeah.
of the fans are harming people.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The noise
Wow,
Noise.
of
Wow.
computer fans, there's so many computer fans. The
wow.
hum
Wow.
is so
Noise
impactful,
level.
the noise level. And no, they
Yeah.
can't do anything in Texas because of their regulations. If they're outside the city limits,
Nothing.
nothing. You can't do anything to stop it.
Wow.
So they either have to sue them or move. Those are
Wow.
the only two options.
Well, I think, you know, an immediate concern is the floodplain law.
Yeah,
If that has to be revised, that would seem to me to be maybe more urgent than the.
I kind of think it
use
would be
law.
very simple,
Yeah,
because, you know, I would advocate that building not be allowed in the 100-year floodplain.
FEMA almost telling you can't, because they won't insure people anymore.
Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
more and more, they're not providing insurance for people in, I don't know if it's 100 or 300-year flood areas,
probably
but
100, yeah.
100. We'll see on Friday. When it comes, just to maybe get 4 inches of rain.
On Friday.
Oh, I know, that's what Kate told me, yeah. That's
So-
gonna be flooding.
So a law in this regard is that tied to the zoning or is it separate?
It's separate,
Okay,
it's a separate law. We updated it recently, we got a visit from the DEC, they let us know that there were like whole sections missing from our flood damage prevention law that were non-compliant. He said, you gotta fix this, so we did, so it's pretty robust, it's been updated recently.
Hmm.
But it does allow building in the flood zone, but if you build there, like you have to be above base flood elevation. And you have to compensate for any stream volume that you reduce, like you have to make more stream volume somewhere, so that's my understanding.
so the flood damage is not damage to the structures, it's damage to the river or creek or whatever. That's the damage.
It's
What is it?
flood damage prevention local law, so it's to prevent damage to
The structures.
structures. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Why is the town interested in that? Because of downstream effects, like if you damage this building, it affects building, potentially damaging buildings down the stream or something?
I think it's protection of waterways and I just encouraging responsible development. Yeah, is how I look at it. So I don't think the ones they've chosen are that bad.
The mobile home park lot, they were reading parts of it, and it's really kind of prejudicial and,
Really?
yeah, antiquated. I mean, it says they're actually supposed to be inspected or re-registered like every year or something like that, and
They're supposed to be, or it's in the law?
it's in the law, but it's not really happening and stuff, and it seems to be a mechanism for just picking up, mobile home parks, so. I guess I would let them, personally, that seemed like a worthwhile thing to.
How many mobile home parks do we have in the town? I don't,
I don't
I know of,
I
two or
think
three.
there's the one there, but then the one there is outside the town, I think. Yeah,
see what
that one
else-
down there is in the town.
it's in the town. on
Yeah.
some-
Yeah, and then there's
You gotta
one
get
down
to the
there.
river, to the creek before you.
Oh,
got
okay,
That's,
okay, so that's.
And then there's two at least, right?
Yeah. And one problem is the mobile home. Are not made all that well, I mean, so it's, I don't know, I mean, it's. I know, I had rental property next to me where people lived in it, but it was only one family, so it never got inspected. And, the inspection only happens if you have more than 2 families living there. on a regular basis unless it's requested. And so it may be a protection to have it inspected, you know, for the
Right,
landowner
but so
to have
they're not-
it inspected and make sure it's,
But there's nothing, it sounds like there's like no mechanism to show that it's been inspected or,
that maybe,
you
yeah.
know, so.
I mean, that's probably,
Well, I don't think our code officer has been inspecting mobile home parks.
yeah, I mean, I think this is part of what we're doing to upgrade the code office to make sure that they can do the safety inspection, they can do the fire inspections, and they've typically just not gotten to them.
Yeah, anyway, I guess I would. Kind of, I feel like what they're doing, what they're talking about is worthwhile.
Mhm.
Especially since it is related to the zoning law and they found stuff in it that's related to the subdivision law as well.
Okay,
So
well,
it seems like
really-
it might be worth bringing them all up to
Okay.
the same level. But I don't care about the adult use law particularly, but I don't, you know,
What does that even mean? Adult
that's like,
use?
you know, can you have can you
If
have
you're
a
so
place?
far away from a school.
Yeah, adult use is, you know,
Pornography.
pornography,
Ah,
right? How close to a school can it be? And
Or strippers.
Yeah.
yeah,
It was done for strippers
Okay.
because at the
Right.
time there was a stripper bar
Right.
in McLean. And everybody got all freaked out that there could be one here, so they.
well, I think according to the
Really?
zoning law,
Yeah.
according to our zoning law, it could be in the heavy the commercial use area, which is quite close to the school.
Yeah,
So,
so they were noticing that.
yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
so yeah, we could have a strip club up. Carson could rent out that nice new building for a strip club, I guess. I don't know. So these are some of the reasons, as I recall, everything, this might be worth updating these because they do relate to the zoning law.
Yeah.
Well, and it did come up. It did come up in the zoning commission because it was just so arbitrarily antiquated.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's
Obviously,
from
yeah.
1998 or something, huh?
Yeah,
Even could even be.
I remember it happening, I remember various people went and started taking pictures of people who was going in and putting it out on like,
Going into the
social
strip club?
media, who was visiting the strip joints in McLean, and,
Oh,
you know, they got, yeah.
um,
So, but I mean, it just seems that there was the idea of protection, like in a hamlet, like, or I remember it, because we were like, we don't want that. Because the Brooklands was closing down, we don't want that here, we don't
Yeah.
want that right in the community. We don't want a bar, we don't want, you know. So-
anyway,
But yeah,
that's why they picked those two, I think.
okay.
maybe the flood, they're thinking of doing the flood with the FEMA, are the FEMA maps all the way out, are they? The new FEMA guidelines? and
They're
maps?
out there,
They're
you
out
can see them. I
Yeah.
don't. What Dave Herrick said at that meeting, I don't think they're official yet, but
Right,
I thought it's been at least 3 months ago that there was a 90-day comment period, so then
okay.
Probably.
Oh, maybe now they're going through the comments,
this fall. Okay,
yeah.
So is there something, since I'm the liaison, is there something you want me to tell them at the next meeting that they should be working on or not?
I guess you could just give them, I mean, I kind of agree with you, I guess, or maybe. You could say that we did, discuss it,
Mm-hmm,
and that we thought the flood damage prevention local law,
flood damage
that's,
protection,
that's something that we
Okay.
wondered if what they thought about that, or, you know.
If they could probably protect that.
yeah,
That didn't
Okay.
mirror
I mean, I do feel like we gave it a really good update very recently. I feel good about that.
mm-hmm,
So yeah,
okay,
The,
so maybe that could be next on there.
I know the parks and, access to water is like way down low, but you know, I deal with that a lot. There are a lot of people who wish they could, have better access to fishing and to water.
so what public areas are there that people could have?
There are none in the, well, you can go near a bridge that's in the road right of way and fish.
So how would you change it?
to have a specific area the town has where people can go fishing.
So my question is there a specific area in the town that's not privately owned that the town could assign for fishing?
Not that I know of, behind the
So what
school,
would?
I don't know if the trout get
I'm
up
not
there.
sure what the planning board would do about that.
I'm not a fisherman, so,
What would the planning board do then? Would they say, we're gonna take over private property, or?
You are talking about acquisition of property, right?
I'm talking about acquisition of property, or some creative thinking about how to have water access. It is in the comprehensive plan.
It is in the comprehensive.
It
plan.
is in the comprehensive plan.
Yeah.
Those two things, I have to have some creative thought about how to get that. I think behind the school would be a great place to have a dammed area in the summer for people to have this little place to go swimming. There's picnic tables, there's parking, there's a playground.
We don't own that.
We don't own that, but maybe there could be something creatively done. I don't know. I'm just saying it's, yeah, it's,
I mean, that would be, that's 6 Mile Creek, right?
that's
yeah.
6 Mile Creek. Yep.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, to think outside the box and try to figure out ways that might be able to get done.
Ithaca Reservoir,
Sorry?
Ithaca Reservoir.
People aren't supposed to swim there.
Reservoir. There are lots of places to swim around here. Just leave Caroline.
Go to Camp Barton, it'll soon be open.
No, are people supposed to swim in the reservoir? I didn't think they were.
No, no. People up and down, including me, in Brooks and Dale, have a lot of people that come and walk up and down the creeks.
I
and get to
understand.
their yards, so.
I understand it.
So it's-
I'm not sure what, I'm just questioning what the
Asking.
planning board, I'm asking
Well,
what the
the idea of the
planning board-
parks and the,
would do to acquire privately owned land that, privately owned water. That's what's weird about New
They would
York.
be happy to sell the town for.
Well, I don't know, I'm not sure she would be, but, I mean, that's the part that's weird, because like in New Hampshire, the state owns the water in general, and you don't have these like private property owners owning halfway out into the creek or
Right.
something like
I was
that.
just gonna ask that question, does anybody know the regulations here, because I walked creeks a few weekends ago with a Trout Unlimited guy. And he claimed that there was the navigable waters provision.
there is the navigable waters, but the 6 Mile Creek is not navigable. Navigable
Oh.
means you've got a boat
He claimed.
and you can, you have trade ongoing on the creeks.
In what's
You
that,
have trade.
Trade?
trade?
Like going up and down with your creek or river, right? With a boat to trade, navigable waters.
Okay.
To
well,
trade meaning-
Beaver furs.
He took a different position, because he was arguing this,
I
much
have-
smaller, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I have gone over this and over this and over this for
Okay.
years.
Okay,
It's possible, for example, someone could put in a canoe and say it's navigable across my swimming hole, but they're not trading.
Okay.
So, I mean.
But they could trade if they really.
I can think of a lot of things they could trade.
Trade out there.
Anyway,
So,
so-
I mean, there might be some argument about it, but in general, you can't just walk up once your feet are on the ground. If you're floating,
then that's.
you're not on my property.
Okay.
If you're not floating, you're on my property.
Oh, but if you're floating or walking in the water,
No, not walking.
You can't
I
touch
own
the water.
Right.
I own the
It's-
creek. But
it's
this is,
10
this
you
is,
have to have your feet off the bottom. So
this
It's
is
the
all,
same
thing
this
in New
is all
Hampshire,
too
except the
specific. We had thought of different ideas. For example, there's a space where the lower swimming hole used to be years ago. We thought that would be a nice park, but right now someone's trying to build a house there. Because there's space for parking and picnic tables and water access. That had been put out as an idea.
But actually, somebody told me that used to be their favorite spot until it was filled in. But that's still,
Really?
yes.
It was fenced off. They used, when we first moved both places.
So I
This
wanna
is swimming
know,
pool.
I just wanna decide what to tell Mike, or to tell Bill,
Yeah.
for you.
Okay.
Did we get a good enough
Yeah.
message?
Yeah.
No, I'm right, I've written down if we're concerned about the flood damage prevention, local law,
And,
should it get a second look?
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And to say that Michelle reported what you're working on, and that seems responsible, that seems like a good.
Okay. So when I give my report to them, the next time I'm gonna say, we want them to also look at this local law.
Well, consider looking at it, yeah.
Not look at it, but just consider it, like, you know,
Yeah, or, I mean, I think even like just talking with Bill about this
yeah,
privately to discuss it and see what his reaction is to it.
Okay.
And just kind of start a discussion. I don't,
Okay.
you know, I think that's even better. I don't think, so, yeah. That sounds great.
all right,
Great, okay. So it's almost 9.
Okay.
We have other agenda items for next week is a question.
Yeah. So do we?
The budget.
The budget discussion,
Budget.
that'll be good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the
So
budget-
And we haven't heard back. Have you been able to follow up with the engineers about the highway barn or not?
No, I haven't, but after tonight's discussion, I thought I would,
I was just gonna ask that, I was gonna say,
yeah.
I must be out of the loop here,
Yeah,
but we haven't talked about that for a
well,
while.
it's definitely overdue, so I'm gonna talk to him, see what's going on.
Okay,
And then Mike coming, maybe,
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about the
Yeah.
$10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah,
oh, yeah,
that'd be good, Mike, that's good, so like, 10K discussion, I'll call it.
Who is up to sign vouchers this month?
I think it's my turn, and then it would be Jonathan, usually I used to do it with Cal,
So maybe I should come and train with you this time, so I know what it is.
I guess so. I don't know if I'm very good at training, but
You can,
Yes.
you can come in anytime during office hours too, Jonathan, and then I can also show you if Michelle's unavailable, but I'll give you
I owe
guys.
you some paperwork, Jesse, so maybe I'll just come and do it then.
I
Okay.
do wanna, Jesse, I wanted to talk to you about some other stuff.
Okay.
So wait, when do the vouchers have to be done? Do you have them?
No, they're
No.
not ready yet. I'll give you a heads up, when they're ready for review and signing.
Okay, so
It-
maybe next week or something?
It's usually a couple days before the
couple days
next
right before, so it'd be
Yeah.
2 weeks.
board meeting.
Okay,
Little-
but Jonathan, I'd be happy to also talk to you about, my theories about it.
Okay.
Your theories about
Theories.
vouchers? There are theories about vouchers?
Wow.
No, stuff I've noticed while doing this stuff. And Kelly used to be very concerned about whether we were charged sales tax or not.
Well, that we all.
Good thing to watch.
Yeah, it's a good thing to look for, but I always depended on him to take care of it. I'll look for it.
Basically, we just compare the receipts to the charges
Yeah, you look at it,
back and forth and make sure there aren't any
it's a good thing
mistakes.
to get an idea of where the money's going at,
Yeah.
right?
But sometimes it's confusing and there's questions and actually there have been times, well, the last time I did it, there were charges and there were no receipts. That I had to ask about.
Well, that's when we
That's a
do
good
it.
thing to catch, that
Yeah.
happens,
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a legal requirement, Jonathan, that two of us do this every time, so.
Um,
3,
Yeah, what kind,
yeah,
yeah.
so I can let you know when we hear that they're ready, I can let you know when I'm gonna go in. I'm not always. What's your schedule like during the day? Are you busy? What's it like?
I have a pretty flexible schedule, as long as you give me 24 hours. On a weekday, I can work things around if I have to. That, I should say though, this fall, I started a new job, doing, the New York Tree Crops Alliance Cooperative, and we're expecting huge yields of hazelnuts and chestnuts this fall because of a good season. And that's like a September, October, November timeframe, and I think I'm gonna be really busy those months.
Mm.
Helping,
are you be engaged in harvesting?
coordinating
Oh,
the farmers. Cause I'm helping set up a facility in Portland
oh,
to
really?
process hazelnuts and chestnuts.
Wow,
It's cool, it's really cool.
yeah,
Thanks.
that's cool.
So,
Are we good?
we're good.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're good.
So, yeah, so that
Absolutely.
sounds good, so, the meeting is hereby adjourned. How's that, or I'll offer a resolution to adjourn the meeting.
There you go.
Second by Tim, all in favor?
Hi.
I
Great, so, thank you so much, Jesse.